Hi guys, Danny here. Again, welcome to my marathon of EurekaSwap videos. I am covering each and every different aspect I can in smaller segments so that if you are interested in how to use liquidity pools, the bank, the melting pot, stuff like that, then make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and then go to playlists. You will find EurekaSwap playlist and find the subject you're interested in and click on that. I haven't done like a whole, video covering everything. I've just done it in segments. So this video, I want to go through the burn. What is happening in the background of EurekaSwap? And I'm going to try to explain this so that people can understand really what's happening and why we expect. Well, first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just explaining the swap site and what's happening. I'm not going to give you financial advice, but I'm going to try to explain why we think the value of IPX and ERK are going to go through the roof because of the burning mechanism in the background. Now, most coins, tokens, projects, they need value to bring price, right? But what we need is liquidity. As long as we have liquidity, then through the mechanisms that are in place will drive the value of ERK, IPX, and even the other tokens that are being built in the background. But ERK being the center of the universe, because this is the Eureka blockchain. I'm also going to explain how this burn process is going to work on EurekaSwap that is actually coming soon to Polygon, which will be 100% decentralized. It will be built on Ethereum blockchain, and it'll also be built on Binance blockchain, I guess, and maybe a couple others. But some people have asked, well, Eureka, why are you building a swap site on, say, Polygon? The answer is because they can. And because it also helps bring value to IPX and ERK. And that's what we want. And I'll explain it to you. Like, okay, let's say EurekaSwap right now is CeFi. The only CeFi part of it really is your wallet, right? At the moment, they are building the high-tech decentralized financial wallet that will connect EurekaSwap, which will make it 100% DeFi. So right now, this is a node, but everything else you do in here runs on smart contracts. Polaris, the development company, cannot control those smart contracts because they've already been built. Right now, I think maybe they're on the test net. I'm not sure. They can reverse things yet, but once it's deployed on the blockchain, it's there. It can't be changed. If we had any serious problems, the only thing they would be able to do then is make a fork. But this EurekaSwap would still exist because it's smart contracts. They wouldn't be able to stop it. So let's talk about the burning that happens. We can start with the melting pot. The melting pot, when you put ERK into the melting pot, 60% of it is sent to, well, right now it's locked in smart contracts. Nobody can ever get to it. It's burned. When the DeFi wallet comes out, the second version of this EurekaSwap, the only thing that's going to change in the background is a few things, but it's essentially the same. But that ERK will start to be sent to the burn wallet, which is on the block explorer, the second one down. You will see here the date and how much was burned, the date, how much was burned, the date, how much was burned, and for IPX, you'll see it here. So that'll be built into the smart contract to be able to send it just to this address every time that burn happens. So when you go into the melting pot, 60% is burned, 40% of what you put in gets split up between people already in the melting pot. If you're already in the melting pot, you'll get a cut of that too. So that's one way that it's being burned. Now, liquidity pools, when somebody adds liquidity into EurekaSwap, 6% is taxed. 1% of that is going to be sent to the melting pot. What happens there? Well, 60% is burned, 40% spread out to members already in there. So that's one way. But that 6%, this is kind of where it gets a little bit kind of hard to explain, but not really. somebody goes in and out of a liquidity pool, they're taxed 6%. 3% is actually used to give back to liquidity pool providers in that pool. But what happens with that first whole 6% is it goes across and it buys IPX, right? Now, when it buys IPX, there's a 10% tax on any sale, so there had to have been a sale of IPX. That 10% is going to go across and buy Eureka, right? Now, Eureka is going to go back and buy, the 10% tax on Eureka is going to burn Eureka. So it just keeps going around. What I'll do is I'm going to show you, just so you understand that part of it. So that 6% is going to go by IPX. So what happens right there? This is a diagram I did for EurekaX, the centralized exchange. This is how it works there. So IPX, there's a sale of one Bitcoin worth of IPX. The buyer gets 100% of that IPX, right? The seller gets 90%. So what happens to that other 10% of Bitcoin? It goes 10% BTC automatically purchases ERK from the BTC pair. ERK purchases airdrops, 50%. The other 50% goes to buy IPX, to place orders on the buy wall in EurekaX exchange. But on the swap site, this airdrop doesn't happen. So that what happens, and there's no buy and sell wall. So that 10% actually of Bitcoin will go over here and it will buy IPX. And okay, so there's a sale of IPX, 10% of that Bitcoin goes over and buys Eureka, and 100% of that 10% goes over to buy IPX. Well, then there's a sale on IPX, right? So what happens there? We start back here. 10% of that sale goes off by ERK, which was over to buy IPX. There's another sale that goes back over, buys IPX, and that 10%, there's that 10% buys Eureka. Eureka buys IPX. So you see it just keeps going around and around. But you've also got to remember, 10% of IPX buys ERK. What happens? ERK down here. 10%. So that 10% bought Eureka. Eureka has a 10% tax on it too. What happens to that 10% tax, or that 10% of that 10%, that goes back to buy ERK again and burn it. But since there's a sale for that, there's another 10% tax that goes back to buy ERK again and burn that. So it just keeps buying and burning, going around in circles. Now we're just talking about that first 3% or 6% tax. This is so hard to explain. On the liquidity pool. So that 6% tax went over, 100% of that 6% bought IPX. Kicked that whole system in I just explained to you. Right? Now it's bought that IPX, it's got that 100%, because remember, the buyer receives 100% IPX. 3% of that IPX is going to go back to liquidity providers. What happens to that other 3%? Well, that goes over to buy Eureka. Right? Now it's bought that Eureka, gets 100% of that Eureka. 1% goes to the bank, 1% goes to the melting pot, and 1% goes to people that are staking their hard drive and bandwidth for the cloud storage. So that was been split up. But since that 3% went to buy ERK, there was a tax, just 10%, which goes back to buy ERK and burn it again. Since it bought ERK again, there's another 10% tax. You see, that keeps going around in circles, burn, 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 burn. So that's the burn from liquidity pools, right? Now, 1% from liquidity pools, it goes over to the melting pot. See how it burns there. Now, every time a smart contract for that 6% goes across to buy IPX, there is a transaction fee. What happens with the transaction fee? There's 0.25% transaction fee on every single swap. That transaction fee goes to buy Eureka. Eureka that it buys goes to buy IPX. And that is split between the development company, and 60% goes to liquidity pool providers. But that 0.25% went to buy ERK, which kicked that mechanism in again. There's a 10% tax, which goes to buy ERK to burn it, which goes to buy ERK to burn it, which goes to buy ERK to burn it. Now that original 0.25% swap fee that bought the ERK got that 100% of ERK to buy IPX, which kicks that whole system again because there's a 10% sales tax on IPX, which goes across to buy Eureka, right? Now, if I haven't confused you enough and I haven't confused myself enough, once you understand it in your head that's how those system works, now you can go across and say, well, wait a minute, what about SOT? What happens when somebody sells SOT? 10% tax that goes over to buy Eureka. That goes back to buy SOT and burn it. This is built into every single token that Polaris is building. Every single project they're building goes to increase the liquidity of Eureka and the burning of Eureka. Everything that's done on the swaps is there to increase the liquidity of ERK and IPX, which increases the burning mechanism ERK and IPX, which by default should raise the value since both of these have a total supply that is continually being reduced, right? So even without changing the market cap, if you have less supply because of that calculation, the value goes up. Okay, now in the swap side, as this happens, it's going to push up the value of IPX and ERK. And what's going to happen there? People are going to see an arbitrage opportunity. Over here, it's cheaper to buy on EurekaX and take it over and swap it on EurekaSwap. What does that do? Well, there's a 10% tax over here too, which goes across to buy ERK that puts buy orders in for IPX, building up a strong buy wall, which is all in here. Okay, now let's look at that mechanism and say, again, why are we building another swap site on Polygon right now? Because of everything I just explained to you right there. So anything that happens in the swap, anything that happens reduces the supply of IPX and ERK because it kicks in the liquidity. Every time we have liquidity, any trades, any buys and sells of IPX or ERK, we have burn, we have reducing supply. This is the burn, 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 burn. This is going to get crazy. So the only thing we're losing by having EurekaSwap on the Polygon network with all wrapped versions of Polygon tokens of everything is just the transaction fee from the wallet, from the Eureka wallet. So we're really not missing much because that transaction fee is very small. So in the case of Polygon, Matic is going to get the value of people connecting their wallets to the swap site, but we get all the rest of the value of the burning of IPX and ERK. Plus, you're going to have, you know, the melting pot over on. It's going to be exactly like this on the Polygon network, on Ethereum network, on Binance Smart Chain, maybe even on Solana. I don't know, but I do know Polygon's being built right now, and it's not too far behind EurekaSwap. So keep your eye out for that. So okay, guys, this video is the burn, the burn, the burn. Everything that happens in EurekaSwap burns ERK, burns IPX, kicks in the liquidity. Every time a smart contract goes to buy IPX, it's charged a transaction fee, which then goes across and buys Eureka, which then goes over and buys IPX, which kicks in another buy and another sale and another buy and another sale, and more burning and less and less and less Eureka and IPX ever in existence. And also Eureka and IPX becoming under demand by the machine and also by people as more people want to earn from EurekaSwap on all the blockchains. They're going to go buy IPX, but they're competing against the machine that's buying it every time somebody goes into a liquidity pool, comes out of a liquidity pool. So you see that demand is just going to increase for IPX that way. ERK demand is already increased because of Eureka Stake, where you can earn governance tokens that's coming out in every project, and because its value is going up, and because people want to put it in the melting pot in every single blockchain. So you're pitching machine against man here. There was something else I was thinking of. What was it? I can't think. Oh yeah. Now, after all this is done, there is more coming. They're working on other stuff in the background to increase the burning of Eureka and IPX. This is just the start. We're gonna have EurekaSwap, we're gonna have the Oracle, we're gonna have a few other things too, and the lending, and everything that happens in those is gonna increase the liquidity of ERK and IPX, which increases the burn, which reduces the total supply more. And once the supply of IPX has been wiped off the market because people want to put it in the bank to earn Eureka from it, then guess what? Here comes the cloud storage, decentralized cloud storage, and then you're going to have decentralized cloud service where you'll actually be able to run websites, programs, anything through the decentralized cloud. And to get that service, you're going to need to hold IPX, right? Instead of paying Jeff Benzo every month to use Amazon cloud service, you'll buy IPX, hold that, and that will give you a certain amount of cloud service, right? Development companies will use this, everybody will use this, so that'll take even more IPX out of the market. So just I'll let you guys imagine where this can go. As you have an increase in demand, you have a decrease in supply, and there you go. Burn, 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 baby, burn. I hope that made sense. You don't have to understand absolutely everything that happens in the background. Like I made this for EurekaX. I tried to do it for the swap sites, and it's impossible. Because every time something happens, something else happens. Every time that happens, something else happens. Can't diagram it. Darren laughed at me. He thought it was funny. He goes, yeah, once you understand it, it is actually impossible to diagram. It's like a bonfire that just keeps sending off embers. Burn, 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 burn. More buys, more burns, more buys, more burns. Okay, guys, that's it. This is the video for EurekaSwap, the burn, the burn, the burn. Bye.